Hello again, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of the Eon Network podcast. I'm your host, Adrian Matt, the announcer for Eon Network, but of course, here today, I will be your podcast host. And before I get to today's subject, I would like to take this opportunity, this time, to thank all our great viewers and the people who are subscribing, because, when I first started this, when we really as a whole started this a few weeks ago, I really envisioned this channel to just be an open forum for us to talk about certain subjects and talk about things that a lot of people might be interested in listening to. And when we first started this, I truly thought that it would probably start off pretty slow, 15 to 20 views per video, and of course it would gradually increase through the months and years. But wow, listen, almost 20 subscribers, and one video already is over 100 views, and I understand the latest one that I talked about is about to reach to 100 views. So this is pretty good stuff. Of course, they're still amateur numbers, I'm sure a lot of people would still go out and say, but nevertheless, though, this is a tremendous amount of success at the early start of this channel. Now, I did reference it last week at the end of the show, how I was going to bring up politics. Now, politics probably might be the most controversial subject that I'm going to get into when it comes to any subjects, because politics, it really, in my opinion, as interesting as it is, I truly think that politics is probably one of the main factors to dividing people and dividing this entire country as a whole. We have so many different parties, but the top two ones that everyone knows, Democrats and Republicans. Now, I personally believe that's a little antiquated. I think at this point in time, we should just live a life where there are no parties and we just basically support who we want to support, not based on the party, but based on the person themselves, because there's a lot of bias that goes around. Republicans will always support the Republicans. Democrats will always support the Democrats. When in reality, there could be some ideas that could be intertwined, but nobody wants to admit that it's a good idea because it's the opposing politic. But I'll get to all that. It's the opposing party. But nonetheless, I'll get to all that in a minute. This subject really is just, I think it's very important for me to talk about. And I know there's going to be a lot of people out there who are going to disagree with me, and that's completely fine. And I know that there's going to be a lot of people who are going to think that I'm crazy for saying this, but I truly think that Joe Biden did a great job in the last almost 4 years completely becoming the president of the United States of America. He did a really, really good job. He did better than Trump, and there are so many different reasons why. And I know there's going to be a lot of people that are saying, Adrian, you have no idea what you're talking about. Joe Biden? What has Joe Biden done in the country for the past 4 years? Inflation and all these other subjects, Ukraine and Russia. But I'll get to it. The fact is, Joe Biden, he actually has done more good than bad. Now, don't get me wrong. He's done a lot of cons, just like any other president in the history of the United States. Each and every single president will have their pros and they will have their cons. Obviously, Biden does have his fair share of cons. However, I truly think the pros, the incredible decisions he's made in the last 4 years outweigh all the bad ones. And I want to really put it in perspective for just a second, because I want to compare Trump and Biden. Now, I understand that Kamala Harris is going to be running. Of course, Joe Biden did drop out of the race earlier this week. It's been the talk of the town, so to speak. Everybody's been excited. They are very happy over the fact that Joe Biden is gone, and we have now Kamala Harris, who is going to be representing the Democratic Party. And in my opinion, I'm excited for it. I think Kamala Harris might have enough credentials to really run the United States perfectly, but I'll get to her in a minute. But I want to go back to Joe Biden and Trump. Let's compare the two for just a minute. Trump obviously was the president before Biden, and now we're about to find out who's going to be the next up-and-coming president. But if we're able to compare and contrast, Biden did a lot better than Trump. Because let's think about this for just a second. When Trump was president, there were so many different issues. Social issues, they were going left and right. Think about everything that was going on during the Trump administration. During those years, it was nothing more but complete chaos. There were protests. There were the rise of KKK and neo-Nazis. There were so many people who openly became racist more than ever before because they view Trump as the white supremacist. They view Trump as the voice of the white supremacy. And because of that, it really allowed people, it motivated these white supremacists to rise up and go against people who were black and go against people who were Hispanic and going against people who were Jews and all that. So when Trump became president, the amount of neo-Nazis and KKK members actually increased tenfold because they saw Trump and they said, all right, this is it. This is going to be it. We're going to be taking over. We're going to be finally claiming this country to be ours, because Trump obviously said it in a number of different occasions. In fact, he said it back in the 2020 elections. He said that predominantly people should be talking English in the United States. It isn't Spanish, is what he said. He legitimately did say that. There are clips you can see online. And that probably motivated people like from the KKK who probably saw that and heard that and said, yeah, we got to speak English here in this country. Everybody's got to be white, and so on and so forth. So Trump obviously had a lot of issues. Biden, on the other hand, there were no such thing. I mean, yes, racism is always going to happen no matter what. Whether if it's a Democrat, whether if it's a Republican, it doesn't matter who it is, racism will continue. It's terrible, but that's the realism to it. However, it did decrease a lot under Biden's administration, because when Joe Biden became president, neo-Nazis really disappeared. And there are a lot of KKK groups who collapsed after the many years of Trump. Think about that for just a second. When Trump was president, all these idiots rose up in groups and were harassing those who were not white, harassing those who were not Christians, harassing those who apparently didn't fit the standards of the American way. When Biden became president, all that really went downhill. And socially, the United States saw itself a little bit more peaceful than that of the Trump administration. Let's not forget also, Donald Trump was the main factor to the insurrection that took place on January 6th of 2021. For anyone who's watching and doesn't remember, the Capitol attacks, when the Capitol was raided by a lot of people who supported Trump, who believed the election was rigged. That's what happened. The insurrection, that is, happened under Trump's nose. He didn't directly say, hey, everybody, let's attack the Capitol. No, he didn't directly say it, but he did imply it. He actually added so much fuel to the fire that it prompted all these Republicans, all these Donald Trump supporters, to go over to the Capitol and raid in, because they believed the election was stolen. They believed that Donald Trump actually did win. And for the first time in history, a president of the United States opened the idea that the election was rigged. Beforehand, there was no such thing. Beforehand, when a president, or in that case, a president, let me retract the statement. In that case, whenever somebody who would be running for president loses, that's what I was trying to get at. When someone who was trying to run for president loses, they would accept it, and they would go, okay, I lost. That's completely fine. I'll own up to it, and I wish the opponent the best of luck. I want nothing more but success for this country, and that's it. Trump, on the other hand, did not do that. He was a loudmouth, still is. But nonetheless, he has been a loudmouth, and he said it so many different times. This was rigged, this was rigged, this was rigged. We got to do something. We can't let them do this. And again, it really inspired and motivated all these guys to head over to the Capitol and deliver this attack on January 6th of 2021. Which is really, really sad if you think about it. I mean, terrorists on September 11th, 2001, we know Flight 93 was headed to attack the Capitol. However, it was American people, the patriots, the people who honestly were the heroes that day. They were able to thwart the terrorists from attacking the Capitol. Well, in 2021, 20 years after, it was our own people that attacked the Capitols. It wasn't terrorists. It wasn't people from any other country. It was our own American people who went over and attacked the Capitol. So that's, again, that happened under Trump's reign as president. When Joe Biden, of course, became president, really think about this for just a second. He handled COVID very well. A lot of people are going to go, that's not true, but it is true. Because when Joe Biden became president, look how he was able to absolutely exceed the production of vaccines. Because of Joe Biden, he absolutely, and I mean absolutely, exemplified the importance of vaccines. He went in there and he made sure he was going to allow the American people to finally get vaccinated so they can be healthy, so they can try to thwart COVID-19, become better, and of course become just healthy human beings. Trump, by the way, always thought that COVID-19 was a red flag. Trump has said it so many times in the past that he thought that this was just a Chinese scam to try to scare the economy, or try to scare the United States and impact the economy. That's what Trump said many times. He didn't care much for it. COVID-19 was huge. Yes, he will talk about it here and there, but he truly didn't think that it was that bad of a disease or a virus. He didn't think it was that bad of a disease. So that's the reason why Trump himself did not necessarily speed up the process of the vaccinations. Biden did, Trump did not. And I also wanted to say that back in 2019, there was word that there was this unknown virus that was spreading in China, and that it was possible that it was going to be spreading all over the entire world. What did Trump do? He didn't do anything because he thought it was a hoax. So that was back in November, December 2019. So he had those 2 months. Then January, February. It wasn't until March, that's whenever he started doing some action. But it took him long enough. It took him months. Months. Think about that. Months to try to thwart and counteract COVID-19. He could have done it back in December of 2019, and it would have saved a lot of Americans' lives, but he didn't do that because all he thought it was a hoax. Anyways, Joe Biden, like I said, if you're going to compare the two, Joe Biden was able to take it more seriously, and he, of course, always told people to get vaccinated. What did Trump do during Biden's administration, though? He would tell people, oh, this is all a lie. Don't listen to Biden. COVID-19 is just a small little, it's not even a big virus. You're going to survive it. Don't worry about it. You don't have to get vaccinated. In fact, if you get vaccinated, it's going to impact your life. It's going to impact your health and all that. So all these idiots now listen to what Trump was saying and then would go out and harass those who would get vaccinated. Not just for the people who got vaccinated, but also the people who would wear masks. And the people who would wear masks were always targeted as well. Because just like what Trump would say, these people would go after those who are wearing masks and say, this is dumb. I shouldn't have to wear this. COVID-19 is nothing but a hoax. Or if it's not a hoax, they would probably say, oh, well, yeah, COVID-19 is real, but, it doesn't impact us, just like what the media is saying. The media is lying. Remember, Donald Trump said it many times. He coined the media fake news. This was him. Donald Trump, this was his own words. He would say that there were a lot of, quote, fake news out there, and therefore it influenced a lot of people out there to follow that and to go out there and really harass people that would follow the news and the guidelines given from the media out there for people to be safe. So anyway, Joe Biden did a really good job overall because, of course, Joe Biden also was the man behind the reason why we left Afghanistan. A lot of people always say that was a bad decision. It was a great decision. Donald Trump, by the way, under his reign, a lot of people say there wasn't any wars or there weren't any wars. There was. We were still in Afghanistan fighting ISIS and so forth. He didn't want to pull out. That war was still ongoing. And Biden ended it. It wasn't Trump, it was Biden. And again, a lot of people always say, well, we should have stayed there. For what? What were we going to do in Afghanistan for the next couple of years or decade or whatever? What were we doing there? I mean, Al-Qaeda has been dismantled completely. The main goal why we went to Afghanistan to begin with was to tackle down Al-Qaeda and to get Osama bin Laden, which is exactly what we did back in 2011. So, we got Osama bin Laden. We destroyed Al-Qaeda. Of course, ISIS did come out in 2014. It began their destructive, devastating reign. So we still were there to try to dismantle them. But still, bottom line is, though, because of the September 11th attacks, and of course, for those who committed it, Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden, they were the main goals. And we got them in 2011. So when Biden became president officially in 2021, what were we going to do? ISIS was weakened. Al-Qaeda was weakened. Bin Laden was dead. So what was the point for us to stay there? I know also another point was to add democracy to Afghanistan, but Afghanistan has been a country where democracy can never, and it's sad for me to say this because I wish that the Afghanistan country would have democracy. I wish Afghanistan would be a place of prosperity and peace. I wish Afghanistan would be a place where everybody would have equal rights. Unfortunately, that is not the case because of the Taliban, but nonetheless, of course, one of the main reasons why we went over there was to also bring democracy. We cannot do that. All right, it's been battling the idea of democracy for the past 80, 90 years. They don't want it. They think it's just awful. So after 80 years of trying to bring democracy to the country and they don't want it, what else are we going to do? There's really nothing else for us to do there. So Biden made the very, very incredible decision to pull out of the Afghanistan region and to end the war, to bring our troops home. All the poor troops who were fighting for our freedoms, who were going over there in Afghanistan, they were brought back home finally. They were reunited with their families. That was an awesome decision by Joe Biden. A lot of people disagreed with that, but I can guarantee you that if it was Trump who actually was able to bring the troops home, that if it was Trump who actually would make the decision to get out of Afghanistan, everybody would say, yeah, Trump did a really good decision. Why didn't Obama do this? Obama was an idiot. We already got Osama bin Laden, so we could have just gotten out of Afghanistan now. But no, since Biden did it, now we go, or at least the people supporting Trump go, oh, well, Biden's an idiot. We dropped out for no reason, and we should have not left those weapons and this and that. Enough. Seriously. I mean, Afghanistan is not the best place. I do agree with that. But we have no business being there anymore. It is their business. The Taliban is back running the country. And not just that, but also, I don't even think they want any wars with us after what's happened in the last 20 plus years. I don't even think they want to go back to how it was before. So I'm pretty sure the Taliban is focusing on their own government, while we, on the other hand, are going to be focusing on ours. So the point is, we're out of Afghanistan. We have our troops home finally with their families. We're not in war. We're not spending more trillions of dollars in this war. It's done. So Trump didn't do it. It was Biden. Biden made that great decision. So that's another decision that Joe Biden made, which was great. So again, I mean, those were the top three that I wanted to mention, how when Joe Biden was president, you didn't see much chaos and protests. You didn't see the rise of KKK and neo-Nazis. You saw the end of the Afghanistan region, or the Afghanistan war. You saw a great plan that Biden was able to implement dealing with COVID. When Trump was president, on the other hand, wars were going on within our own country. Let's not forget the protests. COVID-19 was not taken seriously, and journalists were targeted for the very first time in the media. The Capitol attacks happened under his reign. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Joe Biden, to me, was a better president than Donald Trump. Now, let's talk about the recent news, however. Recently, we understood there was two different things. The assassination attempt. What's his name? Thomas Crooks, I believe. That sicko, that sick man who tried to kill Donald Trump. Now, of course, there were a lot of Democrats out there that were actually celebrating the idea that Donald Trump should have been assassinated. Absolutely not. I may be a Democrat, or at least a person who leans towards them. I may be a person who likes Biden over Trump. But in no means do I ever want to see Donald Trump, or anybody for that matter, get assassinated just because there's different political ideas. I'm still shocked about it. I'm still flustered, to be honest with you. But I mean, the fact that this guy tried to assassinate Donald Trump, evil. Anybody who picks up a gun for the idea to kill someone, evil in my mind. To shoot Trump, thankfully it actually hit Trump in the ear and it didn't actually hit him in the skull. Thank goodness Donald Trump did survive that. And I respect Donald Trump. Of course, he was able to get back on his feet, and he was able to send the message to the crowd that even though he got knocked down right there, he's still going to be fighting back up. That was a really good message, and I respect Donald Trump for that. And again, for the Democrats who are actually celebrating for this idea that, oh yeah, this assassinator, I mean, come on, it should have happened. They should have actually killed Trump. Come on. No, that's just absolutely sickening. Those Democrats do not represent most of the Democrats. Most. And I'm sure the Republicans would be saying the same thing if somebody tried to assassinate Joe Biden. I'm pretty sure Republicans, most of them would also say, hey, yeah, no, I mean, I might be against Joe Biden, but killing a man, it's not the way to go. So I think we can all agree that political violence is really a horrible thing. People shouldn't really condone it. People shouldn't be involved in it, and people should not be committing those acts. So when it comes to the assassination attempt, I'm just basically speaking on what everyone else is saying. Thomas Crook, or whatever his stupid name is, obviously, he was taken down. Thankfully, he was eliminated. He's no longer a threat. I don't know what the heck he was thinking. I'm not even sure why in the world he would try to do that. He failed, thankfully. And that man was just pure evil, to try to shoot Donald Trump and try to assassinate him. Really, really evil. I don't want Trump. I really don't want Trump to die. I mean, come on. I don't agree with his roles. I don't agree with his supporters and all that stuff. But just the fact that, Donald Trump, just seeing him get shot, no, that's just, of course, beyond sickening. Now that we got through that, I want to go to Kamala Harris. Now we understand that Joe Biden did drop out of the race. That was the big news that everybody's been talking about for the past couple of days, that Joe Biden dropped out, that Joe Biden's going to be officially, he's going to be basically focusing on his health. He's going to be focusing on his duties as president, but then he's going to drop out, obviously, and it's going to be up to Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. One of the two. It's either going to be Harris or Trump. So what do I think about that? Well, I don't know much about Harris. I understand that a lot of people say that she has the credentials, that she has the certifications, that she has experience, which may be true. Again, I don't know much about her. I was hoping to do some research. But I do know that she was a senator at one point in time. I understand that she actually was I don't know, I could get this information wrong, so I do apologize, but don't quote me on this, but I believe she was also in California, a person who would be going against criminals, some form of job or a type of work that would allow her to go after criminals and so forth. I could get this all wrong, but I could have sworn that was the case. Nevertheless, the point is, what I'm trying to say is that obviously she does have experience when it comes to law, when it comes to politics, and when it comes to being able to run a country. She did it with Joe Biden for the past 4 years. I don't know much about her, but nonetheless, I know that she has experience. That's all I know. Donald Trump, on the other hand, if you're going to compare her to him, Donald Trump is a felon. Donald Trump has said a lot of very, very questionable things about underage people, underage kids back in the day. He would grab and I was going to say a word. I don't think YouTube would allow it, so I'm just going to go ahead and say that he would grab people inappropriately. Actually, I can't say the word. It's grope. So he would grope women back in the day. He would obviously, there were a lot of records that back in the 1980s and 90s, he would treat people who were of color differently. He would try to assist those who were white. And if a person came into a Trump hotel, for instance, and was black, they would not be treated right. They wouldn't be treated equally. So Trump, to me, in my opinion, not only is a convicted felon and he's broken the law many times in the past, but also as a person, he really is not a good person. He really is not. He's done a lot of bad things. He has so many skeletons inside his closet. Overall, he's not a good person. Kamala Harris, on the other hand, fought many times in the past. She fought for felons to stay out of the streets, which is kind of ironic because we now have a felon in Donald Trump versus a person who fought against felons through her career. So it's kind of ironic to see them go against each other, but nevertheless, point that I'm trying to make here is this. Harris, I truly hope she wins. She's very well spoken. I've seen a lot of interviews. She knows what she's talking about. She's a lot more fluent when it comes to her speech compared to Joe Biden. Obviously, Joe Biden is, over 80 years old. I understand there were a lot of questions about his cognitive ability, that a lot of people were saying that apparently Joe Biden was going to be or was suffering with dementia. I'm not quite sure if that ever was confirmed, but nonetheless, though, people did question his cognitive ability, his cognitive complexity, and so forth. So we know Kamala Harris, being younger, obviously knows what she'll be talking about. She won't necessarily be stumbling as much. And you can't blame Joe Biden. I mean, again, it's not like he's a 30-year-old, a 40-year-old, and he's stumbling all over the place, of course. I mean, he's 80-something years old. I think he's about 82, 81, something like that. Let's check. Joe Biden age. 81 years old. Okay, so he's 81. And you have to understand that he is the president of the United States. Do you know how much he's dealing with? I mean, he has just so much going on every single day that, of course, there's going to be so much going on in his head that it's going to be very hard for him to process it and try to actually effectively communicate. Now, keep in mind, though, I still think Joe Biden's a very good speaker. Listen, he stumbled a few words here and there, but so what? Everyone stumbles. All right? It doesn't matter. I stumble my words. A lot of people out there stumble their words. It doesn't matter about the age. So many people out there stumble their words. So what? What matters is the message. And Joe Biden would always deliver an effective message, a very inspirational. He would honestly deliver an inspirational message every single time he would speak. But that's beside the point. I want to go back to Harris. So nonetheless, she does have the better communication skills. Okay. And again, she has the experience. She has the qualifications, the certifications. She has everything needed to become a very good president. Now, I would also be very excited to see the first ever female, the first ever woman president in the United States. I saw some comments that people were saying that apparently they don't want to see the first ever woman in the United States. I mean, come on. Come on. Are you serious? You're so misogynistic that you're going to sit there and type all that, stating that you don't want to see Kamala Harris win just because she's a woman. I mean, that to me probably is the saddest excuse ever. I also was checking online that when it came to Gen Z, when it comes to this generation that we're living in, Kamala Harris is dominating in the polls. I'm trying to see, I don't know where I saved this image. I know I saved it somewhere. That's one thing for sure. But I remember seeing, this was earlier today, but there was a chart comparing Donald Trump and Kamala Harris when it came to Gen Z, and Kamala Harris completely dominated over Donald Trump. I actually might be able to find it. Give me just one moment. Like I said, I saw this earlier today, so let me go ahead and try to see if I can try to find it. If I don't find it, then I'll just go ahead and just try to skip it. But nonetheless, let's see if I can try to find it here. So, all right, so it looks like here, I don't see, let's see. I can't find it. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people saying, oh, you're lying about this, but I'm not lying. There's a lot of charts about it. Here we go. So, yeah, so Kamala Harris is now beating Donald Trump in a new polling. And the poll actually shows the percentage that I'm talking about here. Harris, by the way, has 44%, whereas Trump has 42%, although this is not exactly the one I'm talking about, though. Give me just a second. There it is. I see it. Okay, so, yeah, Gen Z. And basically, just to kind of summarize this entire poll, Kamala Harris is absolutely killing with the polls with Gen Z. She is dominating. She is absolutely winning it over Trump. Most of the people who are supporting Trump, I would say, are probably more the older fellas, whereas the people who are supporting Harris are more of the younger ones, the people who are in their 20s, their 30s, whereas Trump supporters are more so in their 40s, 50s, 60s. So Kamala Harris does have Gen Z on her side. That's one thing that I can report. Now, with that being said, though, I truly think that Kamala Harris has enough to beat Donald Trump. However, the question truly is, though, did she have enough time to beat Donald Trump? There's only a few months left until the election truly ends in November. And that's it. It's over. There's only a few months. Kamala Harris isn't really, she's known, obviously. She is known. I'm not going to say that she's not known. But not a lot of people are into her. Not a lot of people know much about her. The question truly is, does she have enough time in the next couple of months to really make an impact to the point that it will inspire just about every single American to vote for her? That is the question. It doesn't matter if she has enough certifications and qualifications to beat Donald Trump. I'm saying that time is on the essence here. Kamala Harris needs to do what she can, everything under her own power, and just honestly everything, to try to make sure that she impacts this entire country to the point that will allow them to go, okay, she's actually a very, very good pick. I'm voting for her. And that, to me, is the part that scares me, at least in my opinion. I truly think, in my opinion, that, yeah, she might have the credentials to defeat Trump. She really does. She has the experience. But does she have enough time? That's what I'm scared of. There's only a couple of months left. Joe Biden, obviously, in the last 4 years, was able to come out and kind of prove to a lot of people out there why he would absolutely be a good pick over Trump. However, looks like now that Biden is out, Harris is going to come in the last couple of months. What is that going to do? Is that going to affect Harris in this? I think so. I think a lot of people are going to go, well, we don't know much about him. We don't know much about her. So we'll just go ahead and choose Trump. That could be a factor coming into this election. Of course, I'm not going to sit here and say that could be the ultimate factor. For all I know, maybe that will be non-existent. Maybe it's going to render inoperable, so to speak. Maybe it's just going to be rendered non-factor when it comes to this. But bottom line is that she now has a couple of months. That's it. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. Of course, we're hitting near the 30-minute mark, but I do want to thank everybody for taking the chance to watch this video. It's a very important video. Politics obviously being one of the main things that people should be informed about when it comes to the United States. But nonetheless, to wrap everything up, I just want to say that Joe Biden did better than Trump. Kamala Harris has more experience than Trump. But will Trump perhaps maybe prevail because of the fact that Harris doesn't have enough time, a couple of months to try to make a form of impact that will allow people to really, that will inspire them, that will motivate them, that will persuade them to vote for her when it comes to the elections? Does she have enough time? And I would want Harris to win, but I, at the same time, would not necessarily be too shocked if Trump wins. because all these years he's been making all these comments and really inspiring his kind, his supporters. And Harris, on the other hand, she's kind of been in the shadows because Biden has been obviously the one who was dominating the entire media because Joe Biden becoming the president. Hello, they're going to be, of course, following what Joe Biden is doing, not much of Harris. But now that Harris is going to be a running mate, well, now we have to understand that she only has a limited time. So that's what I'm scared about. But like I said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I do want to thank you guys for taking the chance to watch this video and being able to listen to what I have to say when it comes to politics. All of you guys, if you guys are watching this video, go ahead and drop your comments. I mean, tell me what you believe. I mean, do you believe that I'm wrong? That's completely fine if you think I'm wrong. Tell me who you believe should win. If you really are a Trump supporter, go ahead and explain to me what is it about Trump that you enjoyed. If you disagreed with some of the stuff that I said about Trump in this video, go ahead and let me know in the comments section. If you agreed with the fact that I said Harris might be a very good choice to become president, go ahead and let me see all these comments if you can, if you want to share your perspective in the politics side of things. But nonetheless, again, everybody, I thank you for joining us in this episode for the Eon Network podcast. I cannot wait. Next Wednesday will be a very interesting subject for sure. I cannot wait to get to that subject. But anyway, I do want to thank you guys for taking the chance to watch this episode. I will see you next time on the Eon Network podcasts. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.